you should probably cut them into quarters. Or not stuff like 5 of them. Not like double.
Hello and welcome to Curly Brace Podcast. My name is Rocket and I am one of the co-hosts.
This is Red, aka Evander. Sorry for the rough start. I was just chewing on a Starburst and I was making a whole lot of noise. And we were discussing whether I should, if it was okay for me to go ahead and eat Starbursts while we were recording our episode this time.
Rocket was literally just asking, "Are y'all ready?" And you guys sitting there just munching on some Starburst, like, "All right, does this sound good?"
Yes.
Without warning, he's like, "Welcome to the podcast."
Yeah.
It was a great sound check though to just hear the entire time. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah, the acoustics
man.
in his mouth sound amazing. Nice and wet.
Oh my god. Okay. Well,
So, are we going to go over what we each did this week / fun fact?
I think you should start.
yeah, go ahead and start.
All right, so this week I was in downtown Orlando for work, and it was really, really cool. But we were there for St. Patty's Day, and that was just wild. I mean, like they closed off basically all the streets and brought like the sand trucks in, and it was just a whole bunch of bar hopping and stuff like that. It was a blast. And
Where exactly was this? Like, what's this?
Downtown Orlando.
Really, downtown Orlando? They just closed like all the city. I mean, all the streets and stuff.
Oh yeah. It was out. They put sand trucks on the streets to like
Sand trucks?
Yes.
What's a sand
Yes.
truck?
You know what it's a dump truck. They put a dump truck.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm like thinking of a truck that's just like the bed is just sandbags.
Oh yeah, no, it's yeah. No. But anyway, yeah, no, it was a blast. Had a whole bunch of fun. Would highly recommend going down there.
It sounds wild.
Oh, it was dude.
It sounds like Mardi Gras in
Yeah, I mean
New
it's
Orleans.
similar. Just obviously a lot more green than beads.
Okay. Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, you know, being in downtown Orlando with a Jeep on St. Patty's Day, you know, combined with spring break, with it being on a Friday, obviously it was crazy. But it was also not quite as crazy as I thought it could get. So
Okay,
that was
maybe
good.
we shouldn't have started with him because it's not going to be as amazing or interesting as that. I found a new taco or a Mexican restaurant right down the street from me. That's pretty damn good and cheap.
Oh my God, no
What'd you
way.
try?
That totally
Wait, what'd you
tops
try?
mine.
They
Yeah.
got Tuesdays and Wednesdays they have dollar tacos. And
I'm sorry. Can we just discuss how Greg mentioned that Rocket's fact was not was way better than his? But I just want to point out that finding a really good Mexican restaurant is like a big deal.
That is true. It kind of is.
It's like that is a really
That's
big deal.
a really big deal.
And
Other
we should
people in
also point out
Colorado
that-
might want to know what this is.
Yes, and we should also point out that Greg is Hispanic, so you know his taco ratings mean more than everyone else's.
Debatable.
Oh yeah, kind of debatable.
I thought you had some family down in Mexico, though, right?
Did he?
No.
No, he's
No?
very
I grew up-
Americanized.
no,
Yeah.
Oh, you
yeah.
were?
Well, most of my family
I thought you have,
lives
like,
in
a-
Arizona, but
Okay.
my family, my nuclear family, my parents, they moved to Texas like as soon as they turned 18. Not
Oh,
like, by
okay,
choice. It was
okay.
mostly because of the military.
For
But
some
I
reason,
grew
I
up
thought you had
on-
family down in Mexico, but maybe not. I guess not.
I have like I do have an uncle that currently lives in Mexico, right? Or he goes back and forth between Mexico and the U.S. because his wife isn't allowed to be in the U.S. for a couple more years. So it's like right on the border though. So it's literally like a 20-minute drive,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
they don't give him any guff for it. So it's all good. I grew up on spaghetti, fish sticks, you know.
Gotcha. Okay,
The
never mind. I
classic
take back what I
American
said.
diet.
Do not listen to Greg about any
Yeah.
of these recommendations for this restaurant.
But no, it was a really good spot that I found. I keep passing it every time like I go pick up one of my wife's like her guilty pleasures, which is like Church's chicken. And I kept passing it every time I go pick it up, like next time I'm gonna get that. Next time I'm gonna get that. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm gonna get it this time. And it was amazing. I got
What's the name of
What
it?
did you get? What did you
it
get?
was like some obscure name. It was in between a judo place and a jujitsu place.
Okay.
And on the corner of it was like a dog groomer. I should probably stop
Perfect.
talking because I don't want to dox it.
Well, okay. So wait, what'd you get to eat though? Like, what made it? What was so good?
I had the quesadillas with consomme on the side, and then I got
Consomme.
two $1 tacos. I got just a regular like pulled pork one, and then a chicharron one, which is
It's
just
Oh,
hard to
that's good.
argue with anything
pig
that's
fat.
$1 anymore. I'm just
Yeah,
It
saying.
was
and especially
those
tacos.
$1 tacos. I filled up on both of those, and I still had a full plate of quesadillas with consomme on the side. I ate like half of one,
That sounds
and
pretty good.
I ate the two $1 tacos and half of one. I was already done.
I love consomme, man. Oh, so good.
I need to find a place that sells menudo. I
Oh,
never had menudo until I was working in the ER, and one of the night shift does it up. Okay, um, they like I'll come in like at 6 in the morning for my shift, and I see that they got the skillet, they got some pans and some bowls and like the sink because they were like doing it like they did it up over the night, and I was like, what do y'all do? It's like, we had a slow night. So we had a breakfast for dinner. We had eggs, bacon, all this stuff,
oh wow.
and it's like an almost every night thing for them. And like during Christmas time, one of the guys that I worked for on the night shift, they had he brought in like homemade menudo, and everyone's like, "Oh man, you better be careful, Greg. It is spicy." I had it; it was okay. Or like
Oh,
in terms of spice, in terms of flavor, oh my god, Chris, if you're listening to this, I still dream about your red menudo.
you dream about it?
It was really good. Every time I kept going to like a restaurant, try to find like good red menudo, it was always like, it's all right.
Chris, Greg still has a thing for your menudo.
Yeah, he dreams about you every night. Does your wife know about this?
This podcast just
Yes.
turned sensational.
She hears me at night whispering, menudo, menudo.
Okay, so
Ripping
my
stuff.
my
Just gripping.
yeah, wow. Anyways,
I love food.
so I started construction on my sound studio. I'm turning my garage into a sound studio. I started that Saturday. So they fixed the giant gaping hole in the roof and put like a nice sealed ladder to the attic. So no more big old hole. And then they're going to attach the garage to the house next. And then after that, they'll put a bunch of soundproof drywall up.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
cool. That is awesome. Anything else to add?
Nope. That's my week.
Rocket.
All
I
right.
went to Florida. Red. I'm renovating my house and turning my garage into an amazing studio / theater. Greg, I had tacos. They were really good.
But yet your story had the most detail. So,
No,
Yeah.
I just talked the most.
Anyway, so this week we are going to be getting into the topic of housing in the United States. We're not going to cover other countries right now. Some of it probably bleeds over into other countries, but this week we are talking about housing and how terrible it is, especially for our age group, the millennials, to try to buy a house right now and trying to buy a house, a couple years ago even. So we're going to bring up a couple of topics about it. Red, I'm going to go ahead and let you go first on your topic, though, because I know that you have a couple of really great topics that you want to bring up. And
Yeah. So do
then-
we want to start with mine, or do we want to start with like the history of housing?
um,
I can
I
start with mine.
suppose.
I'm more than happy to start with mine if you want.
yeah, I'd like to start with yours because I
Okay.
think some of the counterpoints that I might have might come up when we're talking about things, and I can provide some.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I can provide some relative.
So
knowledge.
I've just got some information on like the government's involvement in housing and how they've maybe reduced costs or tried to help out with housing and things that they regulate, stuff like that. So I just let's see. Let me think of a good starting point with this. It's I'll just go right into it. So, did you know just recently, the U.S. decided to backstop mortgages over $1 million? for the first time ever.
Explain to me what you mean by backstop.
So by backstop, I mean, so when you go apply for a mortgage loan, like through FHA, like a
Right.
government backed loan,
Right.
right? So they will back it to a certain amount of money, right? So now
Okay.
they're saying because housing prices have increased so much, they're willing to back up loans over $1 million for the first time ever in
Wow.
history because housing
Wow.
prices are so high.
That
How do they
that
accomplish this? Do they just tell the banks no more loans on houses over $1 million, or are there just more restrictions placed on loans
no
over $1
no.
million? Or I'm
It's
confused.
a
Red's saying they
government-backed
increased
loan.
it. They
Yeah,
increased it from like whatever it was before. So now
Oh,
again, it's $1 million, like an FHA, right?
over a
FHA,
million.
yeah,
They
over $1
will
million.
back over
Jesus.
$1 million
Yeah,
now because of
but
housing costs.
if I recall, it's based on the area, though, right? It's
I don't
based on
know.
like the area of the maximum loan that you can get government wise for the area.
That's a great question. Why don't we look that up? FHA
Yeah, because I
loans.
believe it's based like again, it's the
Limit
income level based on the area. I
buy.
know that's true for the USDA loans, and that's also true for first time home buyer incentives and things like that. It depends on where you are, and it's a percentage of the home prices and
Okay,
stuff like
I have
that.
FHA loan requirements. Let's see. Oh, nope. It's just somebody trying to get me to get a loan.
Dude, I'm telling you, good luck with that. We
Uh,
will probably have to continue that for further.
yeah, we'll have to investigate that a little further.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Yeah, because I want to know, like, I would like to know what are the limits for each like state and stuff like that. I would like to look into that a
Yeah,
little more.
I
That's gonna
believe
be
it's
interesting.
zoned out even like down to like inside of counties.
Oh
Like
wow.
If they
yeah,
can,
yeah.
if they can do that with uh, home loans and all that, why can't they do that with the poverty line? Because according to like the HHS, which is the human, it's a U.S. government entity. According to them, the poverty line is the same for like 48 of the contiguous states and the District of Columbia, and it's the same for throughout.
That
Fourteen
that
thousand
is a
five eighty for a single person, by the way, which is criminal. That's about before taxes. That's like barely $1,000 a month. Basically, what I was making working at Wendy's
Yeah, I don't know how
in
a person like that could ever
2012.
afford a home. They'll
what
never buy a
what was the
home at that
poverty line?
income.
For a single person in the household, 14,580. This is as of 2023.
That's the poverty line.
Yeah.
That's
That's
insane.
insane. I mean,
That's absolutely
okay.
insane.
It depends, but I think what
What do we define poverty as in the
that's the
U.S.?
thing, right? Poverty, in my opinion, if that with that such a low number means that I cannot take care of the basic needs to survive, right?
That would be
Like,
below poverty.
well, with that amount of money, that's what I'm assuming they're defining by that. Not that you're poor, that you literally do not have enough to afford a house, afford
That
food.
I feel like that
Like,
would be below. If you're below the poverty line, that means you can't afford a house.
yeah, right, and that's what it
So
means.
they're
But
saying at the poverty line, somebody should be able to pay rent and groceries and do all that stuff on 14,000, which is not right. That's not physically
no,
possible.
it's
Only
absolutely
in
crazy.
like the
Well,
most
okay, it
rural
is
backwoods area would that even support somebody, and even
right.
that's
You would be in
pushing
Section
it.
8 housing at the very least.
Yeah, you
That would
would.
be the
You would.
only way you could pay for it.
Absolutely right.
But the only way to qualify for Section 8 housing is using this poverty guideline right here.
Right.
Right.
The same
It's
guideline.
just-
It's like a weird loop.
I usually don't agree with Greg with the people getting stuck and not being able to get out, but the fact that you can only get help by making a certain amount of money, but then as soon as you make more money than that, trying to do better, then you get screwed again.
Yeah, the problem with a
true.
lot of social
Yeah.
services is that they don't do like a sliding scale to help
Right.
like
It's you're in or you're out.
facilitate the exit of social service and into self-sufficiency. It's literally what you just said, in or out. And a lot of decisions that people make when they're at that level of vulnerability and at that near the poverty line, they got to decide, do I need, if I get this job that I'm being offered, it pays more, which will help me and my family. but I will lose a lot of services that are worth a lot more than what this wage would be. So now I have to decide between sticking with my current job so I can keep qualifying for these benefits, or get a better paying job and lose out on these benefits and have to, supply it myself, which I can't afford.
Right.
My sister had to run
Yep.
into that issue with health insurance in Arizona. They have something statewide for that she qualifies for that doesn't really exist in Texas, and I haven't seen anything, and I have to look at Colorado because I just moved
Yeah.
here. So
Well, we'll have to discuss this like as like a poverty episode, like poverty in America. That'd be a really interesting topic.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, backstop of over $1 million for first time in history because housing prices are just ridiculously high. Um, so
All right.
So you
I've
have-
got a piece of data to throw in there though. For
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So housing prices are ridiculously high, right? But here's the crazy part. When we look at how many people own homes, we are right in the middle as far as homeowner percentage rates compared to renters in the past like 50 years.
What do you mean by right in the middle?
yeah, can you explain that?
Yeah. So for example, let me just go and go over some quick stats really quick on this because I think that'll help. So in 2022, quarter one of 2022, 65.4% of people owned homes. And that's actually a 1.53% decline. Okay. That's 78 million Americans own a house. Okay. Only 35% of people were renting. And this is after COVID. This is after the beginning of when all the housing like started to kind of cool off, right? When the prices were just crazy and the interest rates just started to go up, right?
Yeah.
So at that point right there, right at the peak of everything, 65% of people owned houses.
Okay.
Okay. So would you like to know the monthly payment? The average monthly payment?
On those houses?
Yes.
Yeah.
$1,300.
Does that include PMI, taxes, and
that's-
escrow for or
I
guess
bet that's
taxes
just
that
mortgage.
go
It
into
I think
doesn't.
that's
It doesn't
mortgage.
include taxes. It doesn't include taxes, but it
That's-
does include PMI.
Yeah, because it's a
So
mortgage.
the total
right?
monthly
Yeah.
housing cost is $1,500. That's the average.
Okay.
The average for rent was $1,300 for total cost. Like that's utilities too.
That's ridiculous because I own a $230,000 home and I pay above average, which is my
Yeah.
house is less than the average cost
But
of a home.
but remember,
So that's absolutely ridiculous.
you're at the far end of one sliding scale, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the problem. So for specifically millennials, the problem is that most of these people that own homes have owned them for longer than 2020, right? 30-year mortgages last a lot longer than 2 years, obviously.
Yeah.
So they've owned them for quite a while. They bought them when the housing
So
prices
this
were.
statistic is
in
not
my
caught
opinion,
up
reasonable.
with current times.
What do you mean?
It's so I mean a majority of people in our generation are not in this average.
No. This is the average. That's my point. This is the average.
But a majority of homeowners. How old are a majority of the homeowners? The age.
That's a good question.
I'm
Let's see.
guessing above the age of 45.
Oh, I am. Oh, well, I think actually 45. Let's see. Just gonna rely on Google's first answer here. 47. Look at that.
Oh, okay, I was
47
off-
years
I
old.
was off by 2.
Dang.
Yeah. But think
47.
about it. I mean, that's crazy, right? That's the average age is 47. So if you don't own a home by 47, then you're out of the norm, I guess.
Yeah. That's
By that logic,
On the other hand,
Red is
the
out
median
of the norm because he does own a home.
yeah.
Well,
He's the
right.
only one in this podcast that does own a home.
the median age of first-time home buyers is 32.
Wow. Okay, so I just beat that barely.
By like
Yeah.
4
20
years.
28. Yeah, when I well,
mean,
29
that's
now,
not
but
just beat it.
28
I
when I
mean-
bought. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Only
was-
3% of 25 to 29-year-olds own a house.
Oh my god. That's
And
not
only-
good.
And only 5.9% of 30 to 34-year-olds own a house, and guess what percentage of the age group they make up?
80.
50%.
Oh, 50. Whoa, 50. Wow.
You know what was interesting during my
well,
time
I don't know of
researching-
what that doesn't make sense because those add up to more than 100.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting during the time we spent...
wait a minute. Wait. I'm so sorry. Hold on just a second. Hold
Okay,
on just a second.
all right,
Okay.
Go on.
This has completely different statistics, so we should discuss that, I guess. The average homeowner is 56 years old.
Oh, okay. Maybe there's homeowner and then people who like still have to pay a mortgage.
Among new homeowners, who have been in their homes for less than 3 years, the average age is 46. So
Whoa.
new homeowners, the average age is 46. That must be what that other
That's
one is.
interesting.
But the first-time home buyers, so people that again, not first-time home buyers, new homeowners. The average age for new homeowners is 46.
Wait, so like new home, as in like just built homes.
Just built homes.
Not necessarily a first-time home buyer, but somebody who bought a brand new home.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now,
65.
is this like a novel new home buy or just within that state? Because can't you still qualify for first-time home buyer loans when you're moving state? Because it's like you're the first-time home buyer for this state.
That is a great question. I don't know. I
Because
would assume that
you could
you're
technically
probably
be
right. Yeah.
a first-time home buyer multiple times, especially if you move.
Maybe.
You could.
I do know that when I went through that, like it was through the state of Texas. So, I don't see what would stop you from like qualifying in Oklahoma.
It depends on the state. Yeah.
Yeah. And it depends on the qualification, right? Like I don't qualify for Texas anymore, but I probably would qualify for California. So,
Yeah.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope. If I don't, then there's something really wrong with California home ownership, which
What I
among other
found
things.
interesting during this looking up certain data, certain numbers, was that it was kind of hard to find any number, like any hard concrete numbers on the amount of US citizens that own multiple homes. Because it's
I found
property.
one.
Uh-huh.
Only two. So let's
Yeah, I
We'll
was
go
about to
back
say
here
there
for a
should be
second.
several statistics that show
2.7 I'm going to read this out. 2.7% of occupied housing units are second homes. Occupied.
so only 2.7%.
Yeah. 10.6 of all housing units are vacant.
What year was
That
this
includes Q2 or Q1 of 2022.
for? So 2% are vacant.
No. Okay. 2.7% of occupied housing units are second homes. So that includes condos, that includes apartments that are in, if you were like renting an apartment as a second place to stay, that includes, vacation homes, stuff like that. 2.7%.
See, when I was looking this up, it was hard to
Of
find any
occupied.
concrete data
But
because
again-
it was like they couldn't differentiate between whether or not the it was based on property. So it was hard to differentiate between residential, rental, investment, or
Right.
commercial.
Right.
And it was hard. It was even harder to find statistics over the years because I wanted to see like how many people are owning multiple properties over the years from like back in after the Depression when the government started stepping in and providing assistance and like opportunities for home ownership.
Right. Now, here's another crazy one. What do you think the median household wealth of a homeowner is versus a renter? And exclude the asset of the house. Just take the
55,000.
house out.
Oh, you mean their overall wealth,
Assets.
Yeah,
like,
take their net worth.
their
Like,
net
oh.
worth.
Their net worth. Okay.
Negative. I bet
Um,
it's in the negative.
No, because you got to think of like also their. I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna guess it's not very high.
200.
Wait. There's two guesses. Hold on. There's two guesses. There's one for the homeowners and there's one for the renters.
Okay,
okay.
for the homeowner, I'm
Net worth
thinking
of
like
homeowner. Net worth of
200.
Yeah,
'cause
homeowner.
I'm thinking of like
like
they also have retirement funds as well.
I'm gonna guess like maybe 55, 60,000, maybe less than that even.
I'm thinking 200,000 for homeowners, and for renters, I'm thinking like
They're in the negatives
five.
for
What's in my bank account right now?
sure.
$15.
They're in the negatives for sure.
So, median household wealth of a homeowner is $98,000, excluding the home.
Excluding
Don't count
the
if you're
home?
not counting the home. Yeah, not
Wait,
counting the home as
I'm
an
sorry.
asset.
Is that wealth or income?
Wealth.
Well,
Okay.
he's saying like net worth.
Net worth.
Okay.
Yeah, not income.
That's weird.
Well, net
All
worth
right.
also does include debt, does it not?
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's how much
So
it's your
How could a
assets
majority of
minus your debt.
Americans be in debt but have a $98,000 net worth?
401ks.
401k, Roth
Yeah.
IRAs, equity
So if your
in
401k
retirement
is worth $1
home,
million
equity in
and you're valued at 98,000, so your debt is
What do you
close
mean?
to $1 million. Like most
No.
people are retiring on 401k around $1 million.
No, that's not true at all.
So then, what do they retire?
No.
What's the average income they have when they retire?
Average retirement savings by age. Over $70,000 have an average of $357,000 left. At peak, 65 to 74 has an average of $426,000. That's $500,000.
$500,000. Wow, that's really bad.
That is really bad.
Damn.
That
That's
means that
really bad.
if you're used to living off of $40,000 a year, which is the median income in the United States, then that gives you 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, well, and yeah, I mean,
It could be more depending on how you invest it.
yeah,
right?
it
Could be up to
depends
20.
on how much you take out and how much you're.
Right.
Yeah, damn, that's really bad.
We should just raise the
That's from my wallet.
retirement age then. That'll solve it.
Okay.
Give them less time to live. That way their retirement funds can stretch a little bit longer.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, interesting fact. Did you guys know that denial
That was
rates?
sarcasm, by the way.
oh, whoops.
Did you know
Go on.
denial rates for lower, like, okay, so if I applied for $100,000 loan, it has a higher chance of being denied versus if I applied for a $400,000 loan.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Like
They
statistically,
want to put you in debt. They want to put you in debt.
deny more people who are asking for less. Like if you're trying to be responsible, they have a higher chance of denying you.
I wonder, maybe it's not wanting to put in debt, but maybe it's because they assume that you make less money, right?
Yeah.
And so they assume you make less money, which means you have less in savings, which means that you are more of a risk because you wouldn't be able to catch up on another payment. Maybe that's just my guess of why it's.
I
It
don't
could
know.
also be the type of property that you're trying to get as well. Because if
Could be.
you're trying to
If
go
it's
to a
like a
mortgage company
condo
trying to get
versus
a mobile home where the land
Yeah.
is owned by the land developer and it's at like an
Yeah.
exorbitant rent rate.
That's a
Red
good
was sending
point.
me some Zillow listings from around my area and was showing me like, here's some affordable homes, and he sent me like a $70,000 mobile home, and it was like, oh yeah, that'd be good. And like what was the HO? It's listed as HOA, but it's
It's like over
really just like
$1,000 a month.
It was
like
over
$1,200 a
$1,000.
month. to
and that
rent your
didn't even
spot.
include the mortgage. So the
No.
mortgage would have ended up being the same amount.
as like a
as a property that was
$250,000
like-
house. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. It's just absolutely
That's-
ridiculous.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Back to my initial statistic really quick, just to cover that off. Okay. So looking at the data here, the lowest point since 1965 for homeownership was in 2016. The least amount of people owned a house in 2016 since 1965. Okay.
That's interesting.
The peak was at 69%. And again, it sounds like it's like, what's the difference between 62% and 69%? That's a lot of people.
You're
That's a
talking about
lot of
300.
houses.
You're talking over 300 million people. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of houses going up for sale and being bought, right?
Yeah.
So again, peak 2005, right? 69% all the way down.
And we know what
to
caused that.
62% in 2016.
We know
Right.
exactly. But and just to be clear, what caused that was mortgage
The recession.
companies.
Yeah.
Well, mortgage companies necessarily.
Explain what caused the recession. Sorry. Explain what caused the recession.
Not the recession. What caused the spike in home ownership in 2005? It's the fact
Mortgage
they were
companies
approving
signing anything.
everybody. Everybody. You didn't even have to put a name. You didn't have to put anything on it. You could have
Them
just signed it
damn
and
mortgage
walked
companies
away.
whoring around with
Yeah.
them homeowners.
Exactly.
Getting them to sign up for, what was it? Balloon. It was like ballooning payments. Like
Yeah.
you start off
Yeah.
at like a stupid low mortgage payment. And then like
Yeah.
over like what was it? Like within the next like couple of years, it's like it's like crippling. It's like
Yeah.
more than what.
Yeah.
And then
that
you
it
leave
would
it
be
for
for
like
they
the
sign up
2008
for-
crisis.
Well, but they also sign up for variable interest rates too.
Yep.
that too.
Right. I mean, like again, going from like 2% to 7%. I mean, that's like literally $1,000 a month on a
Yeah.
$300,000 house.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy how much 5% a change in interest does. And if you can't. But I mean, personally, I hate that. I would never do that. But some people do it because they get a lower rate, right, or a lower monthly payment at that time. So
It's basically the same as getting a credit card for like $300,000 with a variable rate, thinking that it won't go up. It will absolutely go up.
It depends. With credit cards, are a lot easier to pay off at the end of the month versus a home.
Yeah, because they're not giving
$1,000 home.
because they're a little more stringent on how much they're willing to give compared to what they were giving out for house loans back in that time.
Yeah, I would compare it to a student loan, but it's not really a student loan because the house actually appreciates in value. So
well, the land appreciates. The house will actually depreciate unless you keep up with it. If you don't keep up with the house and you don't keep up with trends, then it will continue to depreciate just like a car.
That's true.
It's the land that appreciates in value.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Okay.
So basically the house is the commodity and the land is the investment.
Yeah, I mean, well, and a definition
I would
of
say
an investment
it depends.
It's just they're so tied together because a house is so immobile.
That's right. And the other thing you have to consider, an investment is anything you would consider making a return on profit. So if you're buying a home and land without consideration of a return on profit, then it's not an investment for you. It's a commodity.
Which is probably why it makes sense why you're less likely to get a loan for like a mobile home, for not just because the amount is just so low.
It's because for the bank, that's an investment for the bank.
I think the writer of Rich Dad Poor Dad brought that up, and he got a lot of shit for it.
I still need to read that. I need to read that.
Yeah, it's a really good book. If you haven't read it, it's fantastic. I know a whole bunch of people talk about it. It's a really, really good book. Well worth the read. It's on a Kindle too. So if you have Kindle,
I really want to read it. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely worth the time. I've read it on plane trips over the past couple of times, so it's very
Robert
very,
Kiyosaki.
Very yes, I believe he is the one who said that, and it made like social media and stuff like that. And they were like, "What are you talking about? Your house is an investment." And it's like, well, when you think about it,
when you think
about how much money you're dumping into a house, right?
Yeah.
So like, you're paying for the utilities and you're paying for this, you're paying for that, and then you're trying to improve it and everything else. At the end of the day, do you really return a profit or not, right? Unless you have one of these giant bubbles like we had in 2020, right? That would have been a smart time to buy houses, and companies recognize that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, obviously companies recognize it. They're buying all the houses.
Right. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
There was a stat, I don't remember what it was, and it mentioned that if companies continue to buy at the rate they are right now, that they will own 30% of all real estate in the U.S. by 2027.
That's not a surprise, though. I mean, like, honestly, that's not a surprise.
It's sad. It's not that it's really a surprise. It's just sad.
Do you know at the let's see, I'm looking at okay, this is just as of 2022. Guess how many American homes were purchased as investor purchases?
2%. I don't know.
Greg?
For what year? Like this
2022.
year? 2022. Ooh.
Americans or businesses?
What?
7. Yeah, does that count commercial real estate or just residential?
Nope. American homes. Like homes for sale.
I want to
How many homes for sale were investor purchases?
Oh,
I'm going to say
40%.
Like less than 10. Oh, 40%.
Because it's American homes. It's not American people. It's not American people. It's American homes.
How many homes? It's not that complicated. How many homes do you think were purchased for investing rather than living in?
By corporations, by people, everything.
By corporations or people.
40%.
Yeah,
40%.
Yeah, and it's not their primary residence though, right?
Yeah, 40%.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Greg, what's your guess?
I said 10 or less.
22%.
Ooh,
both wrong.
Yeah, both off by a decent amount.
Yeah. But that's a shit ton.
That's a lot.
Big ass chunk.
We're talking about almost a quarter. Almost
In
a
Texas, almost a third
quarter. Damn.
of homes, and this was, and almost a third was sold to not an individual that was just going to rent out a separate home, at least qualified as an LLC. So corporations and companies, 28%.
There should be laws in place for this. This is not okay.
When I looked it up last, Texas didn't have any well, for one, Texas doesn't have state income. Most of their taxes come from property taxes.
That's right.
Right?
We have high
That's
and
right.
sales tax.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
So if you
tax.
want to know why rental prices go up so much, not specifically for apartment complexes or homes that are already built, because they're just adjusting to the market, which is basically price gouging. But for a lot of these companies that went out and bought these homes in 2020, right? And then they shot up in value, they're having to raise the rent to adjust to the property taxes.
For the property they bought. But
Right.
I want to go back for a second, Rocket. You mentioned, you said, what was it you just said? You said like 10 seconds ago. You said price
28%.
gouging. Price gouging.
Oh, price gouging.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I want you to clarify what you mean by that for the audience.
Yeah. So there is a difference between adjusting to your expenditures and basically expenditures as a homeowner that is renting something out, or as a landlord renting out an apartment complex. Whatever you're doing, there is a percentage that, you know, makes sense that when the property value goes up, that your expenses go up, especially in Texas with property taxes, right? Now, with that being said, property taxes on, well, this is a great question. Red, how much did you pay in property taxes this year on $230,000 home
$6,000.
in Dallas County?
$6,000. No, Tarrant County. Tarrant.
Oh, you're in Tarrant County?
Yeah,
okay,
it's Tarrant
so
County.
Tarrant County. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe it's a
Well,
little bit more in Dallas, but
yeah,
So $500
$6
a month.
grand. So
yeah,
$6,000
$500 a month.
on $200,000, right? Or
Yeah.
$230,000,
Yeah.
right? So assuming that, let's just go with crazy numbers here and say that since it's a business, you pay extra property taxes, right? So we'll add an additional like half to that. So we'll say around 10 grand for every $200,000.
And we're not including all the massive write-offs they get that reduces this down to fucking
right,
zero.
not including that at all.
Yeah.
But say you have a $25 million apartment complex, like one that I moved out of a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
right? And you would take that same ratio of, what was that, 5%, right? $200,000, 10 grand, 5%. Yep. So times 5%. That would be $1.25 million.
Yeah, that's nothing out of how much they make. That's like,
Well, so that's $1.25 million in property taxes. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of money, right?
they get all those write-offs too.
Well, hold on, not even including the write-offs. Not even including the write-offs here, okay? In that $25 million apartment complex, they had about 150 apartments, okay? 150 apartments, and the average rent in that, just off a quick guess, probably around $1,800 a month. That comes out to $270,000 a month times 12. That's $3.2 million.
It's not bad actually. It's pretty decent.
So what you're saying is we should all go in on an apartment complex.
Yeah.
My point with this is that you're left with $2 million.
Yeah.
Again, there's
But
a
they're
whole bunch
not
of other
paying- yeah, I was
expenses
gonna say,
and
they're
everything
not
else,
actually
but we're
paying
also not
that.
including
Yeah.
the write-offs and everything else,
Yeah.
right? Either. So,
Yeah. There's enough write-offs to bring that down to
but
zero.
but there's also a lot of expenses. Apartments break in this apartment complex,
Yeah.
especially.
Well,
You got land
that's
scrap.
debatable because a lot of apartment complexes either refuse to fix things or they fix things at the bare minimum cost.
Oh, I agree. They had like
I
three
know,
maintenance
man.
guys. They had three maintenance guys to manage 150 apartments. Like,
That's ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, it took you a week to get something fixed if it was critical.
On the surface, if you go
I
to
mean,
my,
it's
when you saw
disgusting.
my apartment when I first came here, I was like, oh man, this is actually a lot nicer than what I'm used to in terms of like in terms of like the actual unit. But then like I'm walking around the carpet and it's like lumpy because of like all the, I don't know, like the tape that they put underneath or the foam. That's like they didn't put it in evenly, so it's like I can feel the lumpiness around there. I'm looking at the appliances; they're all nice and shiny and chrome and all that. I'm looking at it, they're like all scratched up. I only bring this up because you have to put this in your
You're like
they
damage
give you a
report.
form,
Yeah.
yeah, because they
The
will.
form that you signed, yeah, as soon as
Yeah.
you move in.
if you forget
and you
one
have 24 hours.
thing,
You have 24
and you
hours.
try
so
moving
ridiculous.
out,
It's so-
they gave
yeah.
me like my apartment's cool. They gave me like 3 months. I like brought up an issue about something. And they were looking at my file and they're like, "Hey, you never returned the thing, the form, inventory form. Like, do you still have that?" I'm like, "You know what? I probably do. Um, is it too late?" And he's like, "No, go ahead and turn that in and just let us know." It's like, all right, cool, because I needed to add a couple things. And they're like, all right, go ahead.
Nice.
And it wasn't anything I did. It was like just things that I had missed in the original, like how like I thought it was just like
That's
some
really
like
nice.
stains or something in the bathtub. Turned out it was just chipped from the previous owner. I
Oh.
added that in. I let him know like all the appliances are like completely scratched up. Like the fridge is kinda, but like the way that they designed the kitchen, it's very cramped. So like there's like little room for error between the oven and perpendicular to it, the dishwasher. So whenever you open the dishwasher door, it like gently scrapes it in like a perfect like arch each time, and you can tell it was the dishwasher doing that. But you have to add that stuff in because depending on your landlord or apartment property manager, uh, they will definitely just use your deposit to pay for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Or
of course.
claim that they needed the deposit to repair it.
Yeah, we're all
And then
aware
it's
of
it's up in
how
the air.
apartments. Yeah, we're all aware of
It's
how
up in the air if they
apartments do
actually
that.
did use the money for that or not.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I still can't get over how much a house actually costs today.
Well, and it doesn't help that the government raised their like raised the federal fund rate, right? Like the federal funds rate is like the
But my question, Red, is do companies qualify for those types of loans too?
which loans?
Yeah, wouldn't they have more access
Like
to
the-
like more riskier
The
since
FHA
businesses
loans?
Yeah.
So individual mortgage companies get these FHA loans like backed by the government, and everything they do is affected by this federal funds rate that the government sets. Whatever this federal funds rate is what all these banks borrow
Is
at,
that-
and they borrow from each other too, and they all have to borrow.
Is that similar to
rate.
like the pension rate?
That's I don't know. The federal funds rate, this is the reason why mortgage rates right now are 7 to like 8% or whatever, right? Is because
Okay.
the federal funds rate, and
Gotcha.
banks will borrow from the government at this rate, and then they'll borrow from each other at this rate. And that's
then they'll
the
put an extra
federal-
like
yeah.
percent on top for the consumer?
Yeah.
Is that really
Yeah.
what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's pretty much what they do. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that we just need to open up a bank.
And
our
borrow
problems
directly
are
from the
solved.
government. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, problem solved. There we go.
When they
Correct.
raise this federal funds rate, it's an attempt to slow the economy down, right? That's what they're
Yeah.
attempting to do when they raise the federal. But with these with the
Is
government,
this like the treasury rate? Like I'm just trying to understand what
I
this
don't know.
is.
It's the rate at which businesses can borrow from the government. They can borrow loans from the government at the specific interest rate. Is my understanding. And so the government has the ability to raise and lower this fund rate to drive the economy, right? And what they do
Okay.
is they raise it up really high when the economy starts getting hot, right? Like people start buying stuff like crazy, just like the housing
Uh-huh.
market. And
Right.
so the problem with that is this time people aren't buying houses like crazy. It's corporations that are buying houses like crazy. So when they raised the federal funds rate, all they did was push out all of the normal citizens trying to buy homes and made it even easier for the corporations buying cash to buy up all these properties. And they've really screwed
Wow.
us over in an attempt to slow down the economy.
Wow. Spoken like a true Republican. Love that, Red.
I mean, that's my take on it. I mean,
No,
that's
I mean it makes
essentially what
sense.
happens,
But the
you
problem was, again, not
Businesses
bringing
are more
political
like
parties in
risk,
here.
more willing to take on risk. The average person, you tell them like, house prices are going up and up and up, and now the interest rates are going up and up and up. It's like, I'll wait. I'll wait.
Yeah. So, okay, the term federal fund rate refers to the target interest rate set by the Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC. This target is the rate at which commercial banks borrow and lend their excess reserves to each other overnight. The FOMC, which is the policy-making body of the Federal Reserve System, meets 8 times a year to set the target federal funds rate. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So that's what the federal
I
fund rate
sorry,
is.
I wasn't listening really. There was more to that. That was a lot of words that I just kind of
So
glazed over.
yeah, no, you're okay. So the federal funds rate is essentially it's exactly what I said. It's the interest rate that's being set by the federal government, the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Okay.
set
Yeah.
that.
So it's the government rate
Yeah,
that you get.
yeah. It's
The discount.
It's not just the
It's
government.
discount.
It's not the government rate. It's what banks have to borrow from each other at that rate too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then there you go.
It's
Okay.
yeah, it's a way for the government to control the economy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's one of the tools.
It's
that they
one of the
have,
tools.
right?
They have many tools.
Yeah.
This is one of the tools. It's
Yeah.
just one way to do it.
The problem is that millennials specifically have been fucked so many times now trying to buy a house. I mean, there was the 2008 crash,
Yep.
which was a great time to buy, but a terrible time to have a job as a millennial.
Yep.
And then we go into COVID, right, where everyone rushes to go buy. There's bidding wars. There's everything else,
you
and then the
can't
whole
buy a
companies.
home.
Then
Mhm.
companies come in and bid shit ton more because they know they're going to get a rate of return out of it that you could never dream
$400,000,
of.
and they can pay cash, so the interest rate doesn't
Yep.
matter. Yeah.
Yep. And then we deal with the interest rate, and the prices start to go down just to where we're like, oh my god, we're finally gonna catch your breath. Nope, interest rates go up to 7%
And then you're back. You're back exactly where you were. Yeah.
Yep. Now you're getting less of a value of a house, and you're paying more money to the bank.
It's right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
But the good thing about
Yeah.
an interest rate versus the house price, right? An interest rate can always be negotiated down. A house price is set. It's done.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So let's say it's 7% now. 10 years from now, they go back to 2%.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Refinance.
You're talking about like a remortgage or
refinance, right?
Okay.
Yeah. You have an
that's true.
opportunity to move, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you buy the house at an expensive price and then it depreciates very quickly, you've screwed yourself. You're stuck.
Right. And you think about all the people that bought in 2021,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Where the housing prices were super inflated.
I bought
and like,
in 2022, and the housing prices are super inflated. But I made sure to buy a property that was well below my budget, so that if the house prices dropped drastically, it would not affect me that much.
Right, but you're smart, and you didn't take the normal rule of what banks tell you and what lenders tell
That's
you.
right.
Say, oh, yeah,
I ignored
33%.
all the banks. It's
Which
true.
is just disgusting on its own.
It
Oh,
is.
I agree. No, I get into arguments with people all the time because they're like, "Wow, you make a lot of money. You could easily afford a $400,000 house." And I'm
But
like,
you can't.
"Yeah,
You can't
I can
really
afford one."
No. Well, yeah.
Well,
Okay,
here's the
yeah.
thing.
You can afford it, but you can't live. Like, you know.
It's my standard of living.
Yeah.
Right. It's that's the thing. It's like I don't want to spend $4,000 a month on a mortgage.
I wouldn't either.
Because to me, that makes my stomach churn.
Yep.
Especially, and here's the kicker, especially when I'm renting a house that I like and it's $2,500 a month.
Exactly.
Why would I go spend
would you
more
do
money
that?
to purchase a house and accept more responsibility when I'm renting? And again, the argument has been, well, because you're building equity.
But you're
I
not
don't know
always building
this-
equity.
Exactly.
That's not
And
a
this
guarantee.
the housing price right now, right, is so high compared to what it was 2 years ago. It could drop another 20% in a snap of a finger.
You could.
Right?
And-
no one knows.
and there's
No one
so
knows what's
many-
going to happen.
There's so many ways to build equity. You don't have to go purchase a home to build equity.
No, it's the de facto way, right?
Yeah.
It's the way that Americans know how to build equity, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not a good idea. Of course, it's a good idea when market conditions are normal. My only fear is that I'm going to get locked in at $4,000 a month with, again, paying $4,000 a month for a house when I'm paying $2,500 to rent. No, am I building equity? No, but am I putting that $1,500 towards other things to build equity? Hell yeah.
Yes.
So like, I don't know. It just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, people really need to we as a society, we need to restructure the way we think about finances.
Yeah, I think so. I completely agree with that.
And housing is definitely one of those major purchases we should really be talking about more. Is that really part of the American dream, just to own a home? Like, think about it.
I think it's
The American
it's one
dream
of those
is
things.
different today than it was back in the day.
I think that, and we'll end on this. I do want to touch on this though. I think that, you know, you should own a home when you have the ability to own a home, but you shouldn't force yourself into a stressful situation and a financially crushing situation just to own a home.
I agree. And
It
it was
doesn't make any sense.
because of society, it was extremely devastating to me and my psyche to be forced into a rundown property because I couldn't I couldn't purchase like a house that I liked because everything was over $500,000.
Right.
And
Or
and I was like, why that? Why is that
yeah.
devastating to my psyche? I'm in a position to buy a home. I'm grateful. I should be grateful. And the best part is I'm buying something so below my budget, I can make it into something that I like.
Right. Yeah, and that's very true. The other thing is though is that people are being forced out of cities, right? And
Yeah.
especially with work from home jobs,
Oh yeah.
they're being forced out into the middle of nowhere, which
Yep.
is causing small towns to turn into suburbs at an extremely alarming rate, and the housing the builders can't keep up with it.
Well, that's you get.
And that's another
you
that's a problem
actually
all on
get-
its own.
Yeah, that's supply. That's a supply and
Yeah.
demand problem. You also have
we are-
CDBG, Community Development Block Program, which is another government
Yes.
thing. But I'm gonna.
We should talk
I'm
about
gonna
that.
end it.
We should talk about that.
Do you want to talk about it now? We're getting
Nope,
close
nope.
to our time.
We're gonna
Okay.
Yep, we're gonna end this episode here. And next week we are gonna pick this back up, and because there's a whole bunch of other things we're gonna talk about specifically around demographics and how home ownership, as well as some of the stuff that Red wants to bring up too.
Yeah.
So, guys, we will talk next week. Really excited.
Yeah.
So
This
see you
was a
then.
great discussion. I'll see you guys
I
later.
agree.
See ya.
For more information regarding Curly Brace Podcast and the host, check out curlybracepodcast.com and follow us on social media. To never miss an episode, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.